The galaxy had never seen a celebration like it. 1,000 ships glittered against the void, their hulls catching the light of a dozen suns as they danced in formation. The Galactic Fleet, proud, invincible, a union of species from every corner of known space, was drunk on victory. The war against the Clitheran swarm had ended after decades of bloodshed, and the swarm's hive mind had finally shattered, its drones drifting lifelessly into the black. The admirals of 100 worlds raised their voices in triumph, their comms buzzing with laughter, songs, and promises of peace. On the flagship Ecliptica, a towering vessel of silver and gold, the crew wept openly, their clawed hands and tentacled limbs clasped in unity. For the first time in generations, the stars felt safe. I stood on the observation deck, my human eyes tracing the chaos of joy below. My name's Kyle Renner, a liaison officer from Earth, one of the few humans invited to witness this moment. We joined the Galactic Concord late, a scrappy little species from a backwater system, but we'd earned our place. Our ships had fought alongside the rest, our soldiers had bled, and our engineers had patched up more wrecks than anyone cared to count. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were outsiders here, tolerated but not truly welcomed. The admirals smiled at me with their sharp teeth and glowing eyes, but there was always a flicker of something else. Pity, maybe, or amusement. To them, Earth was a curiosity, a planet of stubborn apes who'd somehow clawed their way into the stars. The party roared on. A Vaxilon singer wailed a ballad that vibrated through the deck, her voice like a storm tearing at your soul. I sipped something bitter and glowing from a glass, watching the fleet's lights pulse like a living thing. That's when the first shadow crossed my mind. Not a thought, but a feeling, cold and heavy, like a hand on my shoulder. I glanced at the comms officer nearby, a wiry little creature with feathers for hair. She was frowning at her console, her talons tapping faster than usual. "What's wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She didn't look up. "Noise on the long-range scanners," she muttered. "Probably just debris from the swarm. We'll clear it up." But it wasn't debris. Minutes later, the Ecliptica's bridge went quiet. The admirals stopped their boasting, their faces tightening as the scanner data streamed in. I pushed through the crowd, my boots clanging on the metal floor, until I could see the holo display for myself. A wall of signatures, hundreds, thousands, moving in perfect unison, cutting through the void like a blade. Ships. Not swarm drones, not conquered vessels, but something else, something ours, Earth's fleet. I'd seen our ships before. Blocky, brutal things built for function over beauty, all sharp angles and gunmetal gray. But this was different. These weren't the ragtag frigates we'd sent to the war. These were titans, their silhouettes swallowing the stars, their engines burning with a fury that made the Ecliptica's reactors look like candles. The fleet stretched beyond the scanner's edge, a shadow so vast it drowned the galaxy's light. And they weren't slowing down. The Vaxilon admiral, a towering figure with scales like molten copper, turned to me. "Renner," he growled, his voice a low rumble. "What is this?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't know. I couldn't know. Earth had been quiet since the war ended. Too quiet, maybe. We'd sent reports back home, celebrated with the conquered, assumed our leaders were content to take their place among the stars. But this wasn't a delegation. This was an invasion. Panic rippled through the bridge. Orders barked in a dozen languages as the Galactic Fleet scrambled to reform its lines. The rejoicing died, replaced by the hum of shields powering up and the clatter of weapons systems coming online. I stood frozen, staring at the holo display as Earth's ships closed the distance. They didn't hail us. They didn't signal. They just kept coming, silent and relentless, like a storm you can't outrun. The comms officer's feathers bristled. "They're locking weapons," she whispered, her voice trembling. The Admiral's eyes narrowed, his claws flexing. "Renner," he said again, slower this time. "If this is your doing, you'll answer for it." I shook my head, my heart pounding against my ribs. "It's not me," I said, but the words felt hollow. Because deep down, I knew what Earth was capable of. We'd been underestimated before, by the swarm, by the conquered, by everyone. And we'd always found a way to turn the tables. The first shot came without warning. A lance of white fire tore through a conquered cruiser, splitting it in half like paper. Screams erupted over the comms as debris spun into the void. The Ecliptica shuddered, its alarms screaming, and I stumbled against the railing. The Galactic fleet, still reeling from its victory, fractured under the assault. Earth's ships moved like wolves among sheep, precise and merciless, their guns blazing with a fury I'd never seen. I watched, helpless, as the stars darkened. Whatever Earth had planned, it wasn't peace, not anymore. The Ecliptica's bridge was a storm of chaos. Alarms wailed like banshees, their red lights painting the faces of the crew in blood. Officers shouted over each other, their voices cracking as they tried to coordinate a defense. The holodisplay burned with the wreckage of the Galactic fleet. Ships that had been celebrating moments ago now spun lifelessly, their hulls torn open by Earth's relentless barrage. I gripped the railing, my knuckles white, as another conquered vessel vanished in a bloom of fire. The Vaxilon Admiral loomed over the command console, his scales glinting like a blade. "Shields to maximum!" he roared. "Return fire now!" But the Ecliptica's weapons were sluggish, its crew unprepared. Earth's fleet didn't give them time to recover. I couldn't tear my eyes from the holodisplay. Those ships, our ships, moved with a precision that felt almost alive, their formations tightening like a noose around the conquered scattered lines. They weren't just attacking, they were hunting. I'd seen Earth's military in action before, back when we were still proving ourselves to the galaxy. We'd been scrappy, resourceful, always punching above our weight. But this was something else. These weren't the ships I'd known. They were too fast, too powerful, their weapons cutting through conquered shields like they were nothing. Where had they come from? What had Earth been building while the rest of us were fighting the swarm? The comms officer's feathers were trembling now, her talons frozen over her console. "They're not responding," she said, her voice barely audible. "I've sent hails on every frequency, diplomatic, military, even civilian. Nothing." The Admiral's head snapped toward her. "Keep trying," he growled, then turned to me. His eyes burned with a fury that made my stomach twist. "Renner, you will explain this. Your people were part of the conquered. You fought with us. Why are they doing this?" "I don't know," I said, and I hated how weak it sounded. My mind raced, clawing at memories of Earth's last transmissions. They'd been routine, reports on troop movements, requests for supplies, congratulations on the swarm's defeat. Nothing to suggest this. But there'd been rumors, hadn't there? Whispers among the human crews about secret projects back home, about shipyards working overtime, about leaders who'd grown tired of the conquered's condescension. I'd dismissed them as gossip, the kind of thing soldiers invent to pass the time. Now those whispers felt like warnings I'd ignored. A jolt rocked the Ecliptica, throwing me against the wall. Sparks rained from a console as the lights flickered. "Direct hit to the port side," someone shouted. The deck tilted, and I scrambled to my feet, my pulse hammering. The holodisplay showed Earth's ships closing in, their silhouettes growing larger, more menacing. One of them, a massive dreadnought, its hull scarred and blackened, loomed at the edge of the screen. Its weapons glowed with a sickly green light, unlike anything I'd seen in Earth's arsenal. That wasn't human tech. Or was it? "Renner!" The Admiral's voice cut through the noise. He was at my side now, his claws inches from my throat. "If you're lying to me, I'll gut you myself." I met his gaze, forcing my voice to stay steady. "I'm not lying. I don't know what's happening, but I can try to find out." He stared at me, his breath hot against my face, then shoved me toward the comms station. "Do it. Now." I stumbled to the console, my hands shaking as I patched into Earth's frequencies. The comms officer watched me, her eyes wide with fear. I tried every channel I knew. Military codes, emergency signals, even the old civilian bands we'd used before joining the Conquered. Static answered me, cold and endless. Then, just as I was about to give up, a voice crackled through. It was low, distorted, but unmistakably human. "Cale Renner," it said, and my blood turned to ice. They knew my name. "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice louder than I meant it to be. The bridge went quiet. Every eye on me. The voice didn't answer right away. When it spoke again, it was calm, almost amused. "You don't recognize me, do you? That's all right. You'll understand soon enough. Tell the Conquered to stand down. This doesn't have to be a slaughter." I gripped the console, my mind spinning. The voice was familiar, but I couldn't place it. Not through the distortion, not through the panic clawing at my chest. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "We're allies. We fought together." The voice laughed, a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. "Allies? Is that what you think we were?" "Stay out of our way, Cale. You're one of us, but that won't save you if you choose the wrong side." The line went dead. I stood there, staring at the console, as the Ecliptica shuddered under another hit. The Admiral grabbed my shoulder, his claws digging into my skin. "What did they say?" he demanded. I swallowed, my mouth dry. "They want you to stand down. They say it's not too late." His eyes narrowed. "And you believe them?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the truth was, I didn't know what to believe anymore. Outside, the stars were gone, swallowed by the shadow of Earth's fleet. The Galactic fleet fought back, their weapons blazing, but it wasn't enough. Ship after ship fell, their lights winking out like candles in a storm. And I stood there, caught between two worlds, with a choice I wasn't ready to make. The Ecliptica groaned like a dying animal, its hull creaking under the strain of Earth's assault. The air was thick with the smell of burning circuits and sweat, the bridge a tangle of shouting voices and flickering lights. I stood by the comms console, the Admiral's claws still biting into my shoulder, his breath ragged with fury. "Stand down," he snarled, his voice a low growl that vibrated through my bones. "They butcher us like cattle and expect us to surrender?" He shoved me aside and barked orders to the gunners, his scales flashing as he moved. "Target their lead ship! Give me everything we've got!" The crew scrambled to obey, their hands trembling but resolute. I watched, numb, as the Ecliptica's cannons roared to life, spitting fire into the void. The holo display lit up with the exchange. Our shots slammed into the dreadnought at the heart of Earth's formation, its scarred hull absorbing the blows like they were nothing. Green energy pulsed along its surface, and then it fired back, a single beam that carved through the Ecliptica's shields and ripped a gash across the starboard flank. The deck bucked beneath us, throwing me to my knees. Screams echoed over the comms as entire sections of the ship vented into space, crew members sucked into the black before the bulkheads could seal. The Admiral steadied himself against the console, his eyes blazing. "What are they?" he muttered, almost to himself. I didn't have an answer. My mind was still reeling from that voice, calm, mocking, familiar. It gnawed at me, a splinter I couldn't pull free. I knew it from somewhere, maybe from the war, maybe from home, but the distortion and the chaos made it impossible to pin down. Whoever they were, they'd known me, singled me out, and that made this personal in a way I couldn't ignore. I dragged myself to my feet, ignoring the pain in my ribs where I'd hit the deck. "Let me try again," I said, reaching for the comms. The Admiral glared at me, but didn't stop me. Maybe he was desperate enough to hope I could do something. I patched back into Earth's frequency, my hand steadier this time. "This is Cale Renner," I said, forcing my voice to hold. "Whoever you are, talk to me. Tell me what you want. You don't have to do this." Static hissed back at me, long enough that I thought they'd cut me off again. Then the voice returned, colder now, stripped of its earlier amusement. "What we want, Kyle, is what we've always wanted. Freedom, respect, a galaxy that doesn't look down on us like we're vermin playing at being gods." I frowned, my chest tightening. "The Conquered gave us a seat at the table," I said. "We fought for it. We earned it." The voice laughed again, bitter and sharp. "A seat at the table? They gave us scraps and called it a feast. You've been out here too long, Kyle. You've forgotten what it's like back home, what they've done to us while you were busy bowing to aliens." The words hit me like a punch. I hadn't been back to Earth in years, not since the war started. My family was gone, lost to the Swarm's early raids, and I'd buried myself in the Conquered's cause to keep the guilt at bay. But I'd seen the reports. Earth struggling to rebuild, its people stretched thin, its leaders chafing under the Conquered's rules. Had it gotten worse? Bad enough for this? Before I could respond, the Ecliptica shook again, harder this time. The holodisplay showed Earth's fleet tightening its grip, their smaller ships darting in to pick off stragglers while the dreadnoughts hammered the Conquered's core. A nearby frigate exploded, its debris pelting our hull like hail. The comms officer flinched, her feathers falling in clumps from stress. "We're losing," she whispered. The Admiral slammed a fist onto the console, cracking the screen. "We are not finished," he roared, but his voice cracked, betraying the fear beneath his rage. I turned back to the comms. "If it's freedom you want, why attack us?" I asked, desperation creeping in. "We're not your enemy." The voice paused, and when it spoke again, it was quieter, almost regretful. "You're not, Kyle. But they are, and you're standing with them. Last chance. Tell them to stand down, or we'll bury you all." The line cut out, leaving me staring at static. The Admiral grabbed me again, his grip bruising. "What now?" he demanded. I looked at him, then at the holodisplay, where Earth's fleet loomed like a tidal wave. "They want the Conquered gone," I said, my voice hoarse. "They think you've been holding us back." His eyes widened, then narrowed. "And you? What do you think?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, because part of me, the part that remembered Earth's pride, its defiance, understood. But the other part, the one that had bled alongside these aliens, couldn't let go. The Ecliptica's lights dimmed as another hit landed. The galactic fleet was crumbling, and Earth wasn't stopping. I had to choose my people or the ones I'd sworn to protect. And either way, I'd lose something I couldn't get back. The Ecliptica was bleeding out. Smoke curled through the bridge, stinging my eyes as the deck trembled beneath my feet. The holodisplay flickered, showing the galactic fleet in tatters. Ships drifting like broken toys, their lights fading one by one. Earth's fleet pressed forward, relentless, their dreadnoughts carving a path through the chaos. The Admiral's claws tightened on my arm, his voice a hiss. "Choose, Renner, now!" I pulled free, my heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't have an answer, not one he'd accept, not one I could live with. I stumbled back to the comms, ignoring the pain in my side where I'd hit the deck earlier. "This is Cale Renner," I said into the mic, my voice rough. "To Earth's fleet, stop this! Please! We can talk! Figure this out!" Static crackled, then that voice again, steady and cold. "Talking's done, Kyle. You had your chance." The line went dead, and a heartbeat later, the Ecliptica lurched as another beam tore into its hull. Sparks rained down, and a scream cut off abruptly as a console exploded. The Admiral roared, shoving past me to rally the crew. "Fire everything! Hold the line!" But the line was gone. The Galactic fleet was a shadow of itself, its ships outmatched and outgunned. I watched the holo-display as a Concord cruiser tried to flee, only to be swallowed by a volley from an Earth frigate. The green glow of their weapons pulsed like a heartbeat, unnatural and terrifying. Where had Earth gotten that tech? The swarm had been brutal, but this was something else. Something deliberate, something ours. I sank against the wall, my mind racing. That voice! It was burrowing deeper, tugging at memories I couldn't grasp. A friend? A commander? Someone I'd trusted, maybe, back when Earth was still home. The thought made my stomach twist. Had they been planning this all along, biding their time while we fought the swarm? The Conquered hadn't been perfect, arrogant, dismissive, slow to share power. But they'd given us a place. Or had they? The voice's words echoed. Scraps, not a feast. Was that what Earth had seen while I'd been out here, blind to it all? The Ecliptica shook again, its lights dimming to a dull red. The comms officer was sobbing now, her feathers scattered across the floor. "We're dead," she whispered. The Admiral didn't look at her, his eyes locked on the holo-display as Earth's fleet closed in. I pushed off the wall, my hands clenched. I couldn't just stand here. "Patch me through again," I told her. She shook her head, but I grabbed the console myself, forcing the signal open. "This is Renner," I said, loud enough to cut through the noise. "If you're human, if you've got any soul left, stop this. Tell me why." The answer came fast, sharp as a blade. "Because they deserve it, Kyle, and you know it." The words hung in the air, sharp and heavy, as the Ecliptica's bridge shuddered around me. "They deserve it, Kyle, and you know it." The voice cut off, leaving me staring at the console, my breath shallow. Deserve it? The Conquered? The aliens I'd fought beside? Bled with, arrogant, sure, but cruel enough to warrant this? I didn't know. My head throbbed, torn between the human fire in that voice and the wreckage of the fleet outside. The holo-display showed Earth's ships circling like vultures, their green weapons flaring as they picked off what was left of the Conquered's pride. The Admiral's roar snapped me back. "Renner, move!" He shoved me aside, his claws raking the console as he barked orders. "Reroute power to the forward guns. Hit that dreadnought." The crew obeyed, their movements frantic, but the Ecliptica was limping now, its shields flickering like a dying flame. A blast rocked us, and I hit the deck hard, tasting blood. The comms officer was gone, her station a smoking ruin, her feathered body crumpled beneath it. I crawled to my feet, my ears ringing, as the Admiral staggered, his scales dulled with ash. I grabbed the comms again, my voice hoarse. "This is Renner. If you think they deserve it, prove it. Tell me what they did." Silence answered, long enough that I thought they'd ignored me. Then the voice returned, slower, almost weary. "You want proof? Look at Earth, Kyle. After the swarm, we begged for help. Food, ships, tech. They gave us nothing. Watched us starve while they rebuilt their palaces. You weren't there. You didn't see." My gut twisted. I hadn't seen. I'd been out here playing soldier while Earth suffered. Was that true? Or was it an excuse? The Ecliptica fired, its cannons blazing, but the dreadnought barely flinched. A counterstrike followed, green light slicing through our hull, the deck split, air howling as it rushed out. I grabbed a railing, my lungs burning, as the breach sealed too late for half the crew. The Admiral slumped, blood pooling beneath him, his eyes still fierce. "Traitor!" he rasped, glaring at me. I shook my head, helpless. "I didn't do this." But I hadn't stopped it either. The voice came back, unbidden. "We're not monsters, Kyle. We're survivors. They'd have crushed us eventually, used us up and thrown us away. This is our chance." I slammed a fist on the console. "By killing everyone, that's not survival. It's revenge." A pause. Then softer. "Maybe. But it's ours." The holodisplay blinked out as power failed. Earth's fleet loomed closer, their shadows swallowing us. The Admiral was fading, his breath shallow. I stood, alone now, the weight of it crushing me. Earth or the conquered, my people or my oath. The choice was coming, and I hated it more than anything I'd ever faced. The Ecliptica was a husk now, its bridge dark and cold, the only light the faint glow of emergency panels casting long shadows. Bodies littered the floor, alien and human alike, their blood mingling in slick pools. The Admiral lay still, his last breath gone, his accusing stare frozen on me. I stood over him, my hands trembling, the silence louder than the battle had been. Outside, Earth's fleet tightened its grip, their ships a wall of steel and fire against the void. The galactic fleet was a memory, its survivors scattered or dead. And I was here, caught in the wreckage, with that voice still echoing in my skull. "It's ours." I stumbled to the comms, the console sparking under my touch. "This is Kyle Renner," I said, my voice raw. "You've won. The fleet's gone. Call it off." Static hissed. Then the voice answered, calm as ever. "Not yet, Kyle. We're not done." I gripped the edge of the console, my knuckles white. "What's left?" "You've crushed them. What else do you want?" A low chuckle came through, chilling me. "Everything. The Conquered's worlds, their tech, their power. We're taking it all." My stomach dropped. This wasn't just revenge, it was conquest. I'd thought maybe they'd stop at breaking the fleet, at proving a point. But this? This was Earth rewriting the galaxy in blood. "You'll turn us into them," I said, barely recognizing my own voice. "The oppressors you hate." The voice hardened. "Number will be better, stronger. They'll never look down on us again." I shook my head, though they couldn't see it. "You're delusional. This isn't strength, it's madness." A blast shook the Ecliptica, weaker now like a death rattle. The holodisplay was dead, but I didn't need it to know Earth's ships were closing in. I sank to the floor, my back against the console, the weight of it all pressing down. I'd fought for the Concorde, believed in it, flaws and all, but Earth was home, even if I hadn't seen it in years. The voice had said I didn't understand, and maybe they were right. I hadn't seen the starvation, the desperation. Had the Concorde really abandoned us? Or had Earth's leaders twisted the truth to justify this slaughter? Footsteps clanged behind me. Survivors, maybe, or scavengers from Earth's fleet. I didn't turn. The comms crackled again, unprompted. "Kyle," the voice said, softer now. "Come home. We need you." I closed my eyes, the words cutting deeper than I expected. Home. A place I barely remembered calling me back with blood on its hands. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The footsteps stopped, and a shadow fell over me. I looked up, expecting a weapon, but it was a hand. Human, gloved, reaching down. "Time to choose," a new voice said, rough and real. I stared at it, my heart pounding. Time was up. The hand hovered in front of me, steady and ungloved now, the faint scars on its knuckles catching the dim emergency light. I stared at it, my breath shallow. the Ecliptica's ruined bridge pressing in around me like a tomb. The figure attached to the hand stepped closer, their boots crunching on shattered glass. A human face emerged from the shadows, weathered, lined with years of strain, but familiar in a way that hit me like a gut punch. Captain Mara Voss. My old commander from the Swarm War, the woman who dragged me through hell and back on a dozen battlefields. Her dark eyes locked onto mine, unreadable but piercing, and that rough voice spoke again. "Time to choose, Kyle. Us or them." I scrambled to my feet, my legs unsteady, the air thick with the stench of smoke and death. "Mara?" I rasped, my throat dry. "You're behind this?" She didn't flinch, her jaw tight. "Not alone, but yeah, I'm here." The comms voice. It was hers, undistorted now, the same clipped tone I'd heard barking orders over gunfire years ago. My mind reeled, piecing it together. She'd been on Earth when the war ended, reassigned to some logistics post. Or so I'd thought. Now she stood here, in the wreckage of the Galactic fleet, leading this massacre. Why? The word tore out of me, loud enough to echo off the broken walls. She didn't answer right away, just gestured to the figure behind her. A soldier in Earth's matte black armor, cradling a rifle. He stepped back, giving us space, but his presence was a reminder. I wasn't in control here. Mara crossed her arms, her stance rigid. "You weren't there, Kyle. After the swarm, we went home expecting help. Ships, food, anything. The Conquered promised aid, but it never came. They let our cities rot while they rebuilt theirs. Millions died. Kids, families, and they didn't care." I shook my head, my chest tight. "We were part of them. We fought for them." Her laugh was bitter, cutting. "Fought for them? We were cannon fodder. They used us, our blood, our ships, then tossed us aside. You didn't see the mass graves, the riots." "I did. I buried my own son while they debated resource allocation in their shiny halls." Her voice cracked, just for a second, and I saw the pain behind her steel. Mara had always been tough, unbreakable. But this was something else. Something personal. The Ecliptica shuddered, a distant explosion rumbling through the hull. I glanced at the dead holo display, imagining Earth's fleet out there, finishing the job. "So you slaughter them?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Billions of lives, Mara. Not just soldiers, civilians, kids. You're doing worse than they ever did." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Worse? They'd have let us die out, Kale. Controlled us, kept us weak. This is survival. We're taking what's ours. Their worlds, their tech. We'll build something better." I wanted to believe her. Part of me, the part that remembered Earth's grit, its defiance, ached to grab her hand and join her. But the other part saw the Admiral's body, the comms officer's feathers scattered across the floor. "At what cost?" I whispered. "How many have to die for this?" She didn't blink. "As many as it takes. You think I wanted this? I tried talking, negotiating. They laughed at me, at us. This is what they left us with." Her hand was still there, outstretched, waiting. I stared at it, my pulse pounding in my ears. The soldier behind her shifted, his rifle glinting. "Kyle," Mara said, softer now, "you're one of us. You've seen how they treat us, like pets, not equals. Come home, help us finish this." I swallowed, my mouth dry. Home, Earth, a place I'd abandoned for the stars, now calling me back with a vengeance I couldn't unsee. The Ecliptica groaned again, its power fading fast. I looked at Mara, then at the carnage around us. The Conquered was broken, maybe beyond saving. But Earth was alive, fighting, and it needed me. Or did it? I took a step forward, then stopped, my hand hovering over hers. "I need to know it's worth it," I said, my voice barely audible. "Prove it." She nodded, a flicker of something like pride in her eyes. "Get on the ship. You'll see." I took Mara's hand, her grip firm and unyielding, and let her pull me from the Ecliptica's wreckage. The soldier fell in behind us, silent as we moved through the shattered corridors, stepping over bodies and debris. The ship was a graveyard now, its once proud hum replaced by the creak of dying metal. My chest ached with every step, guilt, anger, doubt, but I kept my eyes on Mara's back, her steady stride pulling me forward. She didn't look at me, didn't speak, just led me to a docking bay where an Earth shuttle waited, its engines growling low. We boarded without a word, the hatch sealing behind us with a hiss. The shuttle jolted as it launched, weaving through the chaos outside. Through the viewport, I saw the remains of the Galactic fleet, hulks of twisted steel drifting aimlessly, lit by the occasional flare of Earth's green weapons. The dreadnoughts loomed like gods of war, their shadows swallowing the stars. Mara sat across from me, her face carved from stone, while the soldier piloted us toward the flagship, a monstrous vessel that dwarfed even the Ecliptica. My stomach twisted as we docked, the reality of what I'd chosen sinking in. I was with Earth now, for better or worse. The flagship's interior was stark, utilitarian, every surface cold and gray. Soldiers moved with purpose, their faces hard but human, people I might have known once, now shaped by something darker. Mara led me to a command deck overlooking a massive holo display. It showed the galaxy in real time, conquered worlds marked in red, Earth's fleet spreading like ink across the map. "This is it," she said, finally breaking the silence. "What we've been building. Not just revenge, Kyle. Redemption." I stared at the display, my breath catching. "Redemption?" I echoed, my voice rough. "You've killed billions, Mara. How's that redeemed?" She turned to me, her eyes fierce. "Because we're free. Look." She tapped a control, zooming in on Earth. The holo showed cities rising from ash, shipyards blazing with activity, people working, living. They left us to die, but we didn't. We took their tech, their secrets, and made something stronger. No more begging, no more scraps. I wanted to argue, to scream that the cost was too high, but the image held me. Earth, broken, stubborn Earth, was thriving, its people unbroken. Had the conquered really abandoned them? I remembered the Admiral's smirks, the way they dismissed our pleas for more aid during the war. Maybe Mara was right. Maybe they deserved this. But the Ecliptica's dead haunted me. Their trust, their blood on my hands. "What now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mara stepped closer, her presence steadying. "Now we take the galaxy. Their worlds, their resources, they're ours. We'll build an empire that doesn't kneel." I met her gaze, searching for doubt, but found none. "And the survivors? The ones who didn't deserve it?" She paused, then shrugged. "Collateral. It's war, Kyle. You know that." I did. I'd seen it in the Swarm War. Innocents lost, choices made in the heat of survival. But this felt different, colder. I nodded anyway, the weight settling on me like a shroud. "Show me what to do," I said. Mara clapped a hand on my shoulder, a ghost of a smile breaking through. "You'll lead a wing, hit their core worlds, prove you're with us." The holo display shifted, highlighting targets, planets I'd once sworn to protect. I took a breath, shoving down the part of me that still screamed to stop. Earth was my home, my people, and they'd chosen this path. I'd chosen it too. The shuttle's engines roared as we prepared to launch, the galaxy stretching out before us, dark, vast, and ours for the taking. The stars didn't rejoice anymore. They trembled.